All right, we're live. What's
All
your button?
right.
What's that button say? Is that a
It
button?
says live. Yeah,
Oh my goodness. All right. So we're going to
All
talk
right.
about the trades, right? We're talking
Yeah,
about
let's
sales and trades.
let's talk about it. All right. Yeah, we've been kicking this around a little bit. So uh I don't know. It's just see this is the power of specificity, right? Of really getting down into one thing and being ultra clear and hyper targeted is regardless of it, you see some of the same problems over and over again. And Corey, how's that worked out when you're talking to these tradesmen over and over again?
One of the most common things that I see is that, and look, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this, but what happens lots of times is you'll have somebody go through trade school or whatever, and they get out and they start making money, right? And maybe they do really well with their money, or maybe save it, whatever, or maybe they come into money. Either way, then they scale to a larger business, and they decide to open up their own shop. And look, again, there's nothing wrong with it. In fact, I encourage that. But I know, we've both been through business struggles, right? And if you don't see that stuff coming, and you don't when you first start, right? You don't know. It just seems like people, prop open a building, buy a few vans, we're good, right? That's the idea. That's the fallacy that we feed ourselves, so to speak. But the issues that come up are, oh my God, you can't, like, it it's like fire after fire after fire. My point here is, lots of times then the business doesn't do very well because there's no structure to it. There's no systems and processes in place. What happens if you, the business owner, get hit by a bus, right? What's going to happen? Because if you don't have everything laid out, company's going to go all to hell. And some people might think, well, that's all right. I'll be dead. Who cares? Well, fine. But most people don't think that way, right? I would want to know, look, if it's me and it's my business, I want it to live on, right? I want to make sure it lives on.
Makes sense. I mean, one of the most common versions of this, really simple version of this, at least, I mean, I hear over and over is like, owner knows the trades. They're the main salesperson too. They're this is kind of a goofball thing to say, chief everything officer, but they are the head of sales. They're the head of this. They're the head of that. Head of that. And then they hit a point where your brain can only manage so many different relationships. It can only manage so many different things. It's a lot lower of a number than people really want it to be. So they're like, okay, I need to get some of this stuff off my plate. What they really need to be thinking about is setting up a process and duplicating themselves or replicating themselves, right? So I'm going to grow this to the point where, yeah, I got to get another person to set my appointments. Yeah, I've got to get another person to call customers back. Yeah, I've got to get somebody to actually do the marketing and the outreach stuff. And if your answer to that is, well, you just kind of just do it, it's not super helpful. And then whoever you hire, whether they're the guy from the packing department or if it's the hot shot from across town, they're going to fail. They're not going to meet your expectations because your expectations are that they're a mind reader and they're a magic doer, that they could just somehow duplicate what you can't even quantify. So I see this across all kinds of businesses and all kinds of different aspects of business, but this has to be the most frustrating version of this is in sales.
Yeah, dude, because think about this. What happens if these things are not in place? Like, I know the answer to this, but let's just pretend here for a second. What happens if I want to open up another location across the country? Let's say it's not in my backyard because, you're close enough that you could run to either location. Let's say that it's literally all the way from California to New York, and I don't have those systems and processes in place. How do I train? How do I train the team? How do I How do I show the customer service reps how to answer the phone? Do I even know how they answer the phone?
No.
Right? Because
Everybody's going to constantly not meet your expectations because you haven't made your expectations clear. But at the very best, everyone's going to underperform. They're going to be frustrated. And, it's just not going to work out. Like the very best, it's just going to be not what you expect. But it's definitely not going to be magically the growth that you need.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
In fact, I would say it's probably going to be the opposite.
Yeah. It's just hearing people when you say like, okay, so you're growing. What's one of your growth goals? And it's like, yeah, well, we got this lady. Yeah, we got this dude that we just hired, and we're going to train him up to do X, Y, Z. So that's fantastic. That's a really great goal because that means you're going to add 20% to your revenue if this person can just take this off your plate and you can do that, just like you're saying. Yeah. So how are you going to do that?
I mean, we're just going to do it.
You're just going to do it. How frequently? How much? With what curriculum? How are you going to practice? What KPIs are you going to use? How are you going to hold people accountable? And then all of a sudden, it's like, that sounds complicated.
Yeah, absolutely it does, especially when you don't have any of it in order or maybe even at all.
Yeah.
Right?
I think this is a good business lesson in general, right? Is that if you look at your growth, your trajectory as an entrepreneur, when you're just doing things all on your own, you can choose to remember success and you can kind of gloss over the failures. As you grow, I think that we're doing two things at once always, is that we're figuring out what to do more of, but more than that, we're figuring out what to do less of. So as you grow, you're going to have more and more opportunities available to you. And 99% of those things are distractions, right? So as you do more, you test and you experiment, like we were talking about the other day, the explore exploit thing. We explore new opportunities. We take what's good about those things, but for the most part, we have to discard them. And we create a very simple business. Your business should be very clear and simple. And the main reason isn't because we hate money or we hate growth. It's that when you go to duplicate what you've learned, let's just say I'm trying to duplicate what Corey has. He's got decades of experience as a salesperson. Well, if he's doing everything under the sun that has to do with salesperson, that has to do with sales, when we go to duplicate him, that other person has to have decades of experience. But if he dials in his business, just like everybody that's listening, when you dial in your business, it becomes something that you can list out. Here's a checklist, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because you know exactly the value you're going to offer. And so you can duplicate yourself. But also it makes it really easy for you to convey expectations to your customer. And it makes it very easy for you to then take those expectations and use that as sales information, like for your marketing and for your team. So like when you're doing something that's hyper specific, I do this so you can achieve this. It makes it easier to replicate yourself, to add to your team, because the set of options that they're dealing with is very finite instead of infinite. I don't care if you're a plumber or you're a marketing company. When you say like, I handle everything, I'll do commercial, I'll do small businesses, I'll do office buildings, I'll do this, I'll do that. Like when you do everything, replicating doing everything is super hard because everyone that you add to your team has to be a virtuoso. They have to be a master of everything. They have to be a generalist, just like you, with decades of experience. But if you do something specific, you can grow your team pretty quickly if you have a game plan.
Specificity is unbelievably important. And I think a lot of times we hear about niching down, or we hear about staying in a certain area, But the fact is, like, you know, I've struggled with this, right? I have struggled with not wanting, because sales is a very broad word, right? I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
sales process and the way that I'm able to take people through uh, my whole roadmap could technically apply to just about anyone, but I want to focus on the area that I know I can make the most impact and that I know the most about. It's the most recent experience I've had, and I've immersed myself in it. So it's unbelievably important to focus on that one area.
Yeah, I want to see. I want everyone to see this, and I'm I'm not picking on you. I'm highlighting this is that your new offer. It's because you have such power in that blue collar trades and with plumbers and electricians that you can offer a guarantee that makes it like stupid not to hire you, right? Whereas if you're just kind of everything, people are left wondering like, how can he know about sales in my industry, right? What kind of experience does he have? But if you just keep hacking that, you keep hitting that same point over and over again, and then you become an expert, you can say, hey, I don't know what's your offer. It's five times 5x ROI or your money back.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
because you can do it, right? But if it was
Yeah.
like a roll the dice, show me what you got, and then you're like, I think I can pay my way, right?
Right.
It's not as shocking and appealing.
Right. And if you've got a bunch of rules around that particular rule, that also negates the offer, right? You can't have this
Yeah,
great offer and then have all the asterisks down the side of it, which pretty much eliminates anybody from taking advantage of the offer. That's stupid.
yeah. So it's just some things that have been rattling around with us lately because we've been working in solar. Corey's been working um, with blue collar, working with the trades. I think that's what our title is, blue collar sales tonight. And yeah, it's interesting to me to see the same problems with a plumber that I get with like a tech startup.
Same problems, right?
Same problems. It's same problems. It's like because you know what? People are the same. It's the FOMO problem. It's the complexity problem, right? They say like, well, yeah, if I just hone down to this one thing, then I'm going to miss out about a ton of opportunity. And then, for the technical side, we look at it and say, well, how many people fit this niche that you're the best in the world, or you can become world class, or you can become an industry leader, you can become you can dominate your local market or a regional market. And you look at it and be like, there's 125,000 people in this area that fit that exact bill. It's like, well, can you service 125,000? Like, no, I can service 2,000. Okay, so you're saying that if you as a plumber went over and said, I am the master of this single thing, which happens to be your most profitable piece, you're saying that at best, you could only address 2 or 3% of your total potential customer base. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, sounds like being broad makes no sense because you can't even tap the potential of your niche. And you're like, oh, okay. This is the same thing working with a drone company or software company. They want to go after everybody. And I'm like, but if you went after everybody, you'd have $1 trillion company. You can't have $1 trillion company tomorrow. So like, what would be the layup? What's the like the guaranteed sale? And they're like, oh, well, my background's in this. I know everything about this, and I have a ton of connections and past performance and case studies in this. And they're like, well, what would it look like to just do the thing that you're really, really good at? Like, why not just be extraordinary? They're like, well, I'm going to miss a bunch of sales. I'm like, well, you don't have any sales right now, so who cares?
Yeah. Or here's another one. I just want to do something different. I just want to get out of the day to day. Been doing this for a while. I just want to try something different. But you're a master at the other thing, but you're going to start out as a beginner at the other thing. I don't think that makes sense, right? I mean, it doesn't even add up.
I like that. That's really good. So niching down or niching down, super important. The training piece, the duplication piece in blue collar sales, this is the thing that just keeps hitting me over and over again. Because I mean, I've seen the messages in our groups. Hey, I've got one truck and it's my friend has the other truck, or my wife's the bookkeeper. We've got three dudes and I'm in handling calls. Like, how do I get somebody to get on the phone for me? Some version of this. They hit a brick wall, and it's just amazing to see the different points of where that is in in sales. It's just like they're hyper confident, so they have 12 trucks. This guy's a sales machine. He thinks like, dude, I don't need any sales training because I'm like awesome at sales. And then they try to hire somebody to like just do a simple follow-up, and they can't do it because they're just a natural. They're a natural salesperson, or they've been in the industry so long that they're a natural. But then they hit the brick wall of like, they're not a natural sales trainer. Because if they were, they would have already trained people. They're probably so good at their job that it makes them terrible at training people. So their company can't grow. They're just stuck at $1 million, or they're stuck at a couple $1 million, or they're stuck at a few trucks. Because the next part of it is what I call the fire yourself framework, which is observe and document, turn it into a process, train somebody by doing it with them, having them do it, review it, and then have them do it by themselves. And so you're in this perpetual cycle of firing yourself, which I feel like is super important to growth. Is, again, in my mind, our growth is unlimited. It's just a matter of doing less. Right. What people don't get, and this is super evident in the trades because it's actual, like, you actually have to do labor, things actually have to exist, is that your potential is unlimited and you're just shackled down. You're held down by doing things you shouldn't do. This is the only thing stopping you from making a 7-figure business or growing your business to multiple 7 figures. It's not that you're not working hard. It's not that you're doing the wrong things even. It's that you're supposed to be firing yourself. You're supposed to do less things. You're supposed to build a team to do those so you're at 100% effort. You stay at 100% effort, but you get other people to do the not less valuable, but the repeatable things, the things that don't need your mind and your experience and your expertise and your leadership. So then you can just keep elevating. In my mind, like, that's my visual piece, is like, imagine a giant hot air balloon. Hot air balloon doesn't fly. It doesn't glide, or it doesn't soar. What it has to do is it has to be unshackled, right? Once it's filled up, for it to float away and go as high as you can stand, really, right? Guy jumped off of space off of a hot air balloon, right? For Red Bull. For it to go as high as you possibly can stand, all it has to do is remove the sandbags, right? And to do that, those have to all be little systems and processes that you got to put into place. So that's my visual metaphor. At least that's the way I think of it in my mind.
Yeah, you're right. And if you don't have these things in place early on, and I think that's where a lot of people do go south, is then they try. We just talked to a friend of ours a couple, like last week sometime, and it's like, well, I need to implement. This is exactly what he said. He said, I need to implement this thing that would help tie these 5 things together, but I don't have time.
Too busy.
Too busy.
Too busy to save time.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Too busy to save time.
Yeah, and the answer for that. Now, I think he's in a good place for this, but the answer for it is pretty funny and pretty simple. Hire an expert.
Right.
Buy your time. Buy time. Right. We only have a couple levers in business to pull. right? And really boils down to time and money. People want growth, and I'm like, it just is either more customers, right? Or your product is more expensive, or they buy more times. That's really the only three levers that we have. We can pull them in different sequences, but to grow, and you're an owner operated business, this is especially true in an owner operated business, all we have is time and money. We can spend money to get time, as in we're going to hire people, right? Or we can spend our own time to get money. And at first it's 100% and 0, right? And then eventually the goal is like 0 and 100. But more realistically, for owner operated businesses, what it's going to be, 20 80 or 50 80 or whatever it ends up being. But you got to buy your way out of that time, and there's plenty of consultants to hire.
That's true. But so I want to hit on one little quick point here. So the other thing that you also got to want to pay attention to, let's just say you're in the position to step away. You have all this stuff in place. Everything's running great, right? As the owner, you're still responsible for certain things. You're still responsible for paying attention to KPIs. You're still responsible for making sure the damn business is running. Right. And if not, if you take your eye off the ball and step away and allow somebody to run it for you, there's going to be mistakes. Right. But if you pay attention and you really make sure everything, I don't mean like micromanage the shit out of people. I mean, just make sure that the damn business is going to continue to sustain. Right.
Yep.
Because I think a lot of people take their eye off the ball because they think, well, everybody's got it. Right? They said they've got it. They got it. But they don't lots of times.
Got a couple of people asking how to get at this link. So to join us.
It's really a great question.
Let's make sure that we share this out. This is in you're live on Facebook. I see this right now. Here we go.
Yeah,
I'll make sure that I get the comments too. Here we go. Haley Adams, thank you. Thank you for the comments. Fantastic.
Yep. Haley's a good one.
All right. Let me see what we can do. I think I have the answer here.
Well, so
but, I'll mess with this later.
There you go. Okay, so let's talk about another aspect of. I like talking about the offer. Right? I really like not necessarily my offer, anybody's offer. So, I was talking to a gentleman earlier, and I said, what would you tell somebody? And this is no slight on him. Like, this is most people's fucking answer, just so you know. But, I said, what would you tell somebody about your business? Now, he's got a unique business, but you still got to have your value proposition. What are you going to say to somebody if they ask you what you do? If you're in an elevator, the whole classic thing, right? And so very much so, like a lot of people, he went into, my employees have been here this long. They've been trained this long. We've been around for this long. Our shit's the best. Like, most people answer that question that way. But here's the deal. Like, people don't give a shit about any of that. They care about whatever it is they care about. And it could be different, right? It could be that you and I go into the same exact store and buy the exact same product, and we look almost exactly the same. But if they don't ask us why we're buying the product, it could be that I'm going to use it to, I don't know, I had to buy my mousetrap yesterday. So maybe I'm going to use mine for mice, and you're going to use yours for freaking something else, right? To catch a toe in it or something.
Yeah, people have different motivations. They have different reasons, right?
And how do you know? How do you know that?
Well, I know that with offers, if we understand what the problem is a better unifier than demographics, right? And that's why I'm always talking about psychographics, because it's easier to infer what people's problems are, and that there are, like, when we understand who they follow, what they believe, what they read, what they think. If I understand the emotional context of their life, it's easier to find people that have similar problems than if I say, like, well, I think this person looks this way, right, or has this level of education. It's just less helpful. But if I know a problem and I can become the king of solving that problem, I can become a category king or a category of one at solving that specific problem, then I'm not really, well, one, I'm not competing against that many people, but two, the value that I offer is so hyper clear that I can actually charge money based on my ability to deliver a solution to that specific problem at the speed and the convenience. So I was just saying this on my podcast, the little, like, formula for product or for value, because I think that in my line, a lot of product businesses, they stagnate from the same exact reason. They have a store and they just start adding winning products to their store, and they think, well, my brand's going to carry it through, or my ads are going to carry it through. And I'm like, you should understand the mindset, problem, the emotional context that you're trying to solve for. But really, it's like my simple formula was one customer, one channel, and one offer, right? And the offer, to me, a good offer, a good product, it has value only from the context of the customer. So it's that glass of water analogy that I give, right? Is it doesn't matter what your product is. What your product is not that relevant. It's the angle. It's the reason. So I'll put it to you this way. It's like this is, if you're a plumber, because we're talking blue collar sales. If you're a plumber, what is more important, a leaky faucet or a leaking water heater? Right?
Water heater.
Yeah, man. One's going to ruin your whole house. One's annoying. Right?
One to explode. Right.
Yeah. What's more of a showstopper, right? Fixing a leak in your house, let's say, after you call somebody, or that person knowing that your house has a leak while you're on vacation, going over there and fix it before it's a problem?
Definitely option B.
Yeah, because it's a convenience, right? So the perfect offer is delivered instantaneously, if not anticipated, and with such ease that we barely notices that it was an inconvenience yet, right? Because those things are taxes, right? Complexity, speed, or what you can say that, like, slowness, or whatever you want to think of it, and difficulty. Those are all taxes on the value that whatever our offer provides. But, like, the offer is only relevant in the context of the person, because if let's say that I live in a condo, it doesn't really matter how good of a plumber you are. I'm probably not going to offer your services. I don't really care, or I might never need that high value service. If the building that I own is a business, and that's not the type of plumbing that you do, or vice versa, it's kind of irrelevant for you to spend money trying to market to me. Like, even though Corey and I we're like, oh, these guys look the same, but you're sending flyers to my office, and I'm like, I need a commercial plumber, right? I need somebody that can service all of my stuff, including working with my security company and the sprinkler company, and handling all the different services. A normal like electrician came in, they just lose their mind, right? So, like, I need somebody that can specialize in that. So when you get really specific, all the value comes out.
Well,
And
yeah.
And so like what I'm saying is like people want to make this super complicated, but if you want to make $1 million and you want the fastest rate to it, or you want to go from stagnant to growing, just look at this as like, what's your one customer, right? Hyper targeted, specific customer who you're going to speak with. You'll probably get other people anyways, right? You're not going to like, people aren't going to look at an ad and say like, well, I guess I didn't need a plumber because like this guy said that they're the expert at doing XYZ. So I'll just call somebody else. This guy's an expert. I don't need to call him, right? You pick the one hyper-specific customer. You have the one channel. You own that one way of getting a hold of customers. So like in my last podcast, I was talking about people as a channel. That's my thing. People are the ultimate channel, and how to double and triple down on collaboration and using people to get a hold of people.
Expand on that. That's important.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is even relevant for blue collar. Is that so? You think of this as, but here's the formula. You have one customer, you have one channel, and you have one offer that you master. You combine 1, 2, and 3, and that equals growth. That's it. Everything else that you do is a tax. Everything else that you do is non-value added as a business, right? It's just something to try to get you to optimize one of those 3 things. But yeah, when you talk about channels, you think this is my opinion on this is the right relationship will change your life. Would you say that's true or false?
I would say it's 1,000% true.
Okay. So there's a stupid saying that in all these stupid sayings that you hear, these little like, I think of it as like entrepreneur memes. They're what we call truisms, right? People say them because they're true, or they're of course true, right? But in them, there's actual real truth to this. But like people say, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And like, we know that that's not really true, because if you're a total dumbass, you're just going to be elevated to the point where you can fail higher, right? We kind of know that, right? You've all known somebody who is inherited money or got a cushy job. And you probably also know that if you checked on them in a couple of years, they messed it up, right? But people say it because it's kind of true, is that you get your foot in the door. So it is about the people that you know. So if you know that if you can just bypass picking this apart for a second, and you know this to be true, that the right person will change your business and change your life, why are we doing a ton of other things that don't make that inevitable? We should be making that reality an inevitability, right? So we are constantly working towards being the right person in the right place for the right person to pick up and say, yes, I want to work with Corey. Because if we can become that person of value and of interest, and we can be in the right place and we can foster those relationships, it's going to take us a lot farther than a Facebook ad. Right? But people don't want to do that, because a Facebook ad, you just have to spend all your money and make a couple clicks. But the other way requires diligent effort, maybe up to 15 minutes of effort a day for a long period of time. Just like, but yeah, I think this is relevant for blue collar as well, because if I put myself in a position and said, well, what's the one person, we're picking on plumbers a lot, but you could say electrician. It's like, well, what's the one company that if I made a relationship with their XYZ, their procurement person, their engineer, their contracting officer, their owner, if I made a relationship with that one company, getting all relationships that looked like this would be much easier. Or they would just have so much work that I'd have to become a totally different company just to handle that level of an opportunity. And I have never found a product, a company, an industry, a customer, or any other aspect of business where there isn't that one single point of massive leverage, where if you truly are an expert in that industry, they can't just say, well, yeah, I mean, I guess if Tony Robbins said that like my vitamin was good, I guess I would sell a lot of them. I'm like, okay, well, it doesn't have to be Tony Robbins, but like, who are the other 24 or 49 people that would just absolutely crush it for you if they said, hey, can I slap my name on this with you? Can I help market this for you? Hey, do you want to be the official vitamin of, right? Do you want to be the official plumbing company of? And when we look at it like that, it changes who we need to be, what our company needs to be, how our company needs to act, how our marketing needs to be, how our employees need to execute on the job. It filters down to every other aspect of your business because you want to become the person that is creating inevitability, right? You want to become the person that when called on, you can take advantage of that opportunity. And this is super, super interesting way of looking at it. But on a dumb level, like, people say like, oh yeah, I want to, we can pick on Tony Robbins. He could take it. Right. But like, yeah, they were like, I want to collaborate with Tony Robbins. Like, okay, well, what are the 10 things that you do each week that make that even feasible? Have you even seen Tony Robbins? Have you even read a book? Right? Have you bought a course? Do you know anybody that has bought a course? Do you hang out with any of the Facebook groups? And they're like, no, I've never done any of those things.
None of them.
I'm like, well, dude, cross him off the list. Like, you don't want to collect. You haven't even commented on a post. You reposted something like a month ago. Like, why is that your shining beacon of collaboration? Why is that the one single point of massive leverage in your life? And you won't even read a book?
I'll tell you why. Because it's so far away that I can say, hey, it was Tony Robbins, but I missed the boat. Right? I can blame it on somebody. It's almost like you set yourself up for failure.
I pick on that because it sounds so outlandish, and yet we know multiple people that are, involved in his circle, right? So it's kind of like, and they're normal people. So it just seems outlandish, but it really isn't, right? And the progress of meeting that person is not as outlandish because they're just regular people too. So is the owner of that massive construction company that could give you a $10 million order as a plumber, right? It's just like, how do you get in front of them? How do you get into their world? How do you make yourself known? How do you become a person of value and credibility? And there's many ways that you can go about doing that. That the way that you execute that, that's something you got to talk to Corey about. That's something that is personal to you. I don't know. At least just follow them on social media, like their posts. I mean, I don't know.
Hey,
do something. Write them a letter. Just say, hey, I have a plumbing company. I did $1.2 million. And I read in the newspaper about your backstory and how you started as a plumbing company. And now you run this massive construction company. You're a massive inspiration. I don't want to waste your time with a cup of coffee. I just wanted to say that, if I ever have a chance to learn from somebody like you, I'll definitely take everything that you have into consideration and I'll take action on it. So, and you just send that letter. You would be surprised the response that you get, right?
It'd be the best letter ever.
Yeah.
Right? From somebody you don't even know.
Right.
It's like just, and I talked about this earlier with somebody, but it's just like we get the letters from First Form. Same difference. Like it's so detailed, so personal, just like you outlined. And guess what? We probably won't ever recommend anybody else's product.
Yeah. Somebody's like, well, what if nothing happened? Like, so what? You were really nice to somebody. You wrote them a letter saying that you appreciate them and that they inspire you, and nothing happened. You acted with gratitude, and nothing happened.
I'm not
So
going to
what's
get 5 minutes back.
Yeah, what's the downside? What's the downside of being a human being? Yeah, so it's a really interesting thing. But for me, the channel, and I was talking to somebody right this afternoon about this, is that for me, you know, because I talk about ads and like email sequences and different types of digital marketing and real world marketing. But I mean, I'll be honest with you, the majority of my sales, like the majority of my success, any of those other things that we use, those were all just like amplifiers. The real deal thing, it just happened from one relationship. Right. So one relationship changed everything. It created a foundation where then if I ran ads, it doubled it. If I had a great email sequence and a great system, it smoothed it out, right? It enhanced it. But like if you took away like an email sequence, I would have been okay, right? If I messed up our post sequence or another aspect of the marketing, it would have been okay. But if you took away the relationship, none of it would have worked. Yeah, and so I've had that in B2B business, in really niche things. I've had that in e-commerce, in really odd things. I've had that in just commercial products, like everyday things. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, I'm pretty bullish on that working across the board. But then, you know, somebody's going to have to know they better get their systems and processes in place, right? They're going to have a whole lot more business to deal with.
That's right. It's hard to play catch up, dude. It's hard to play, especially when you get busy. I mean, and what I can't think of a worse time to do it, right? When money's coming in, things are going great. Oh shit, I forgot I didn't do all these things that help my business actually grow. And that's a hard pill to swallow, but it happens all the time. What can you do? All right. Well, I got to hop on my next call.
That's great. Yeah, this is good. So we'll leave this up, and I think we need to visit this idea of blue collar sales a little bit more. Right? Really jump in deep. Let's give some tactical examples next week, things that people can do and walk away, because we have members in the group from all kinds of different sales, but really, I don't know. I think you've converted me. There's not a whole lot different about different industries in the sales. Like in the specific tactics, yes, but like when we talk about stuff, you can see, do people get hung up the same ways at each time? So,
I mean, yeah, you're right. The last thing I want to say really quick is, you know, in one of the conversations I was having earlier, was like, you know, I'm just not. The guy said, I'm just not confident in. I'm just not confident in representing whatever the thing is. And I'm like, I get it, dude. Like, it happens to all of us, and that's really the foundation to all of this. And you know, it's kind of like you said with the relationship. The next part of that is you got to have confidence to actually do the thing, right? You got to have confidence to step out.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. So anyway,
all right, everybody.
Later.
Fantastic.
See you, brother.